You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Oh, yeah, we're hitting right.
CJ, the painkiller.
Kevin Jackson. So we need to start acting like a big boy football. It's time for the jetpacks to die. You're listening to Weapons Hot on Sports War Radio and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Darnold fires one into the end zone. It is caught.
And now here is your host, CJ, the Painkiller, D. Simone, and Kevin Jackson.
What's going on, Jets Nation? Welcome to another edition of Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Sports War Radio Network, and Snowman Digital Media Network, and quite frankly, any place that you get your New York Jets broadcast fixed. I am your host, CJ the Painkiller D. Simone, and I'm a little pissed off today. And I am about to bring in my wingman, my partner in crime, one of my very best friends. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Kevin Jackson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome back to another episode. Oh, man.
So it's actually hard to enjoy the intro when you're so angry about, the result of today's game. So I completely understand your frustration, Jax. So
yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. It didn't start out that way, but right at the end of the first quarter, it just kind of fell off the map. So I'm glad we're able to talk about it, because this is going to be therapy for me tonight. But I'm just going to be honest. I'm pissed, man. I at this point, I didn't have the expectations, but what I did have was for me that bad, and that was bad.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we all talked about this game, about being a super important game. It's a division game. It's important for the Jets to get off on good footing, to come out firing. The Bills Mafia had basically been, pretty much running open season on New York Jets Twitter and basically saying that this is going to be nothing but a preseason game for the Buffalo Bills. The game's going to be over at halftime. I wonder if they'll put their backups in. A lot of people treating this like as if this really wasn't a regular season football game. And, Joe Douglas's comments about, hey, well, this team doesn't live in a bubble. We hear about all the stuff that's going on. We hear about the different comments that are being made, and one of the biggest things that I am one of the things that I'm really aggravated about, to be honest with you, is just the fact that, again, we saw Sam Darnold struggle. We saw many different facets of this game struggle. We knew that this was going to be a rather, I guess, for lack of a better term, we knew that this was going to be a very sloppy football game. But I was expecting a sloppy football game, on both sides of the fence. And the problem is that we didn't get that. What we got was the Buffalo Bills coming out and basically putting on a clinic and taking the New York Jets to the woodshed. Now, I don't care what the scoreboard says, that it was 27-17, because quite frankly, the Bills could have put up 50 points on the Jets by halftime should they have chosen to do so. The defense, suspect to sloppy tackling. Okay, the offense, completely out of sync, completely out of rhythm, and the offensive line did its job. So I don't want to hear the excuse about the offensive line, because the two times that Sam Darnold was sacked today were covered sacks, because you don't have guys on this team that can get separation. Okay, but meanwhile, we had to watch different posts from other Jet fans, both on Facebook and on Twitter, about Mr. Robbie Anderson and his 8 catches for 115 yards that he had there at Carolina, despite the fact that it was in a losing effort. But we still continue to see the same problems on this offense. And I'm sorry, but the blame falls in the lap of Sam Darnold. 2 very bad plays in which I don't know what the hell he was thinking. One, he throws up a complete duck that he expects his receiver to go up and try and get it as like out of like a jump shot. And then there was another where he threw a pitch to Chris Herndon. Herndon catches the ball, makes a football move, doesn't really put any type of effort to secure that football, which ends up leading to another turnover. So in this game, there are a lot of things that the New York Jets are going to have to fix. And another thing, Jax, and I know that you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. For the New York Jets to be successful, their defense cannot spend 70% of the game on the field. What happened today? 68%.
I'm so sick right now. I'm so sick right now.
68% of the time, the New York Jets defense was on the field. Do you know who the Buffalo Bills leading rusher was today? I will give you 2 guesses, but I know you're only going to need one. Josh freaking Allen. And you know what?
You got him.
And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's not that he had superstar stats on the ground with the blazing speed, okay? 14 carries for 57 yards. He averaged 4.1 yards a carry. And the majority of his runs, they weren't designed. They were because of the over-pursuit of the pass rush. Because they decided to abandon the push up the middle and to come through the edges, which is one of the worst things you could do against the Buffalo Bills offense.
I'm gonna revamp what I originally thought, and I'll just say this. I mean, you guys know if you've watched the shows, TJ, you knew that I predicted a loss, but I thought it would be close. The score today doesn't indicate actually how poorly we played, because that final touchdown by Josh Adams, little goal line run, that was in garbage time. Chris Herndon receiving most of his yards coming in garbage time. Sam Darnold looking horrible. Le'Veon Bell being hurt. I did say we have to take a look at Frank Gore, because I thought Frank Gore was going to be an indicator of really what Adam Gase's thought process was going to be for this offense going into this season. And everything that we talked about that the Jets could not do, they did. And, this is going to be difficult for me. Just because I said I was going to come into this not having any expectations, and there are a lot of question marks. And I think that was solidified by what it is that we saw on the field today. But the one thing that I really was trying to do my best to do was to downplay how immediately I want Adam Gase. And I know there's going to be some pushback, and I know there's going to be some guys that are going to say that, what do you expect, blah, 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 but I'll just be honest. I expected better. And I didn't get it. And I was trying to temper my expectations a little bit. I thought we would at least play inspired, or at least come like this was an important game at the very beginning of the season against a team that we have, I guess enough talent to capably remain in the game, but that's not what we got today. A piss poor rushing attack, 3.3 yards. That's correct. The very, very poor outing by Sam Darnold, which I think actually, again, goes so much to show that not only has Sam Darnold maybe taken a step back, but the coaching staff isn't doing anything at all to solidify his footwork, to solidify anything that is foundational in him. They're allowing it to fall by the wayside. And that the longer that we allow this to continue, the worse off we'll be, not just for this season, but going into next season also. So I am not at all satisfied with any aspect of the game. Yes, there are players that we can point to that we can say played well. But overall, this is probably the worst case scenario for how it is that we started the season. See, I know you got some things, and I know we're probably going to touch on some specifics here in just a minute. Us a grade today, I would give us I would give us a Q because we were non-existent today.
Yeah, I think that for that's interesting. I kind of like that because you know what? I kind of felt that way at times. I felt like that the defense was trying to do its part, but I just think, again, like we've seen in so many other times, in so many other instances when we watch the Jets play, the offense was non-existent. And you know what? There's only so much that you could blame on the offensive line. Last year, Sam was able to get decent play with a crappy offensive line. They went and they spent the money this year to upgrade the offensive line. They drafted like the biggest left tackle in the universe in Mekhi Becton. Okay? So clearly today wasn't the offensive line. It was clearly today a combination of Gase did not game plan for this, and Sam, unfortunately, pressing too much, made bad decisions with the football. That's what it boils down to, because the defense did everything they could against a high-powered Buffalo Bills offense to try to stop the bleeding. And you know what? 21-3 at halftime, and I don't care that Sam Darnold led the 2-minute offense and got us to a field goal, and at least, there was some momentum going into the second half. It's inexcusable. The Buffalo Bills scored touchdowns on their first 3 drives. The New York Jets, big fat goose egg. All right? So, as far as I'm concerned, yes, I completely understand that no preseason games. I expected guys to come out flat. I expected a lot of piss-poor tackling. But I definitely did not expect the performance that we saw today. What are your thoughts? I know you think it's something I can see.
This is going to be hard. This is going to be hard. How honestly do we go forward with any positivity about what it is that we're doing? I even have so much. I have so much to really question, not just our coaching, not just our training staff, because now we're seeing injuries to players that were integral to anything that we wanted to be successful in this season. But I just got to say this, and I don't want to be, a reactionary. I don't want to overreact to this, but what the hell did you? I know coming into the season we had holes, but we also had what I thought was a guy who was addressing these things and let me ease up just a little bit, because I do want to be realistic. Joe Douglas came in and addressed the offensive line, and if I were to be honest, I think, and I'm not sure how many folks would agree with me in this, but I think the offensive line may have actually been decent, if not serviceable today, at least in certain spaces. The most impressed I think I was with Mekhi Becton and George Fant. I've kind of thrown some jabs at Fant because I wasn't sure really what it is that we could expect. But today, he was actually serviceable. You didn't hear his name. which I think was good. And I kind of think that was the point. We kind of need guys that you don't necessarily want to hear their names because and if they're doing their jobs, that means we're good. I have to give them props there. To that point, I thought the defense is going to be a strong point, but they can't be a strong point if they're playing 70% of the team, 70% of the game, and they're gassed. The guys that we need to step up, they couldn't do it. Pierre Desir, benched first quarter. The hell. Even the guys that came in, I mean, they played well. I guess better than maybe what it is. But Tremaine Johnson was a bum. Look, I'm going to be hard-pressed to find anything positive out of this game. And, I mean, people, they can be pissed off at me if they want. If you really have an issue, come talk to me when we win. You can shut the hell up about all that other nonsense. I'm not trying to hear it. We are not in a position for anybody at all to be looking at this like, oh, yeah. This was good. Or, you know what? No. Sam Darnold is regressing. The most important player on this team is falling off. It's falling off. And I'm trying not to curse. I told myself, you know what I'm saying, I was going to try to maintain a little bit here. But I'm going to be honest with you, I'm even more pissed off about this game and what it is that it means for how our season looks going forward, knowing that we've got what we have facing us over the course of the next couple of weeks. The 49ers game? Are you kidding me? No, we are not ready. We're not ready. And I thought that maybe there would be something that we could salvage from this. Maybe there was some comment that we'd be able to say, we could build on from this game. The only confidence I have from this game is that Adam Gase should have been fired before we hired him. The wrong choice. Period, point blank, that's a wrap. Anything else, you know what? This was the worst area for this game.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to introduce to the show. I'm sure you can probably see him at the bottom of the screen on the StatementGames.com hotline, and looks like he's in the StatementGames.com studio. Mr. Errol Marks from below the mic. Errol, how are you tonight?
I'm good, man, and I'm not in the Statement Games studio. What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy?
I'm sorry, I couldn't see from there. Just Errol, my guy, welcome aboard.
What's going on, man? And I just want to say I'm at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network studios, one of them. But
beautiful.
But I'm actually I wanted to come on. I was listening to your show, and I love both your intakes of what's going on with the New York Jets and watching that team. I don't even want to mention the team right now because to me it was absolutely abysmal what I watched today for the New York Jets. But I don't blame Sam Darnold. I'm listening to you guys, and I know a lot of people want to point their fingers at Sam. It's very hard for a development of a quarterback that's had two coaches in 3 years. Todd Bowles was there for his rookie season. He did absolutely nothing to help the growth of Sam Darnold. And now the last 2 seasons, it's been Adam Gase, and they don't have enough offensive weapons around Sam Darnold. None of them could create separation. Perriman, everybody keeps talking about Perriman. Oh, he looks great on the practice field. He looks great over here and looks great over there. Perriman looked terrible today. Herndon looked bad today. Dropping that ball, to me, that cost the Jets the game. The Jets were coming back. It was 21-10 when the Jets got the ball back, and then Herndon got I thought, a decent pass by Sam. It was a short pass. It was more like a screen pass to Herndon, and then he turns around and he drops the ball. So, again, and by the way, the Jets, and the guy that really stood out for the New York Jets today was Marcus May. Yes. Marcus May was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic day. He made some bad tackling early in the game. He couldn't tackle Josh Allen. I don't know what Josh Allen had on his body today, but obviously it was slip and slide or something because nobody could tackle him today. The Jets tackling was the worst. And say whatever you want about the Jets defense. They were out there for 70% of the time. They gave up 21 points really in the first quarter. After that, the Jets gave up really nothing. They were defensively savvy. The field goal kicker for I forget his name for the
rookie.
From the Buffalo Bills. He did not look good. He missed a couple of field goals, and one of them they were complaining that it was a field goal. It wasn't a field goal. Just so everybody knows, if you look from the behind, and if you have the chance to go on the NFL Network, the NFL Network has the cameras. You can go behind the post, and you can actually take a look. It did not go over the top of the post. It skimmed the outside of the post, which would have hit the outside of the post, and even if it came close. So I know a lot of people say, "Oh, that would have counted as points as well." To me, right now, when you look at the New York Jets, it's really one thing and one thing only. It's Adam Gase. Adam Gase right now, he is an absolute poison for this organization and this team. And losing Denzel Mims to maybe 4 to 5 weeks with a hamstring problem, that's going to cost the Jets too, because he's the only player that will command double teams in the open field. There is nobody. Jamison Crowder, Herndon, Perriman, Hogan, none of these guys can create their own separation. Denzel Mims can. I mean, the guy can jump. He can run. He's big. He's strong, and he doesn't drop the ball. I'm so sick and tired of hearing all those Jet fans about Robbie Damn Anderson, okay? Robbie Anderson had pot hands for the New York Jets. I know a lot of Jet fans were upset that the Jets decided not to re-sign him. Robbie Anderson wanted $24 million for 2 years, which, by the way, the Carolina Panthers gave him practically. I think they gave him $17 million for 2.5 years. So, to me, Robbie Anderson wouldn't have made this game better. What would have made this game better is when you had the chance to come back in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter, when it was 21-10, Herndon should have caught that ball. Herndon should have caught that ball. There was too many mistakes. There were too many mistakes by the New York Jets, and giving up a 21 spot in the first quarter cost them the game. It was over. After that, the game was over for the Jets. And I'm so done with listening to what Adam Gase has to say after the other game. It's early in the season. We had no preseason. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. Hey, Adam, there are a bunch of teams right now that had no preseasons. Even the Carolina Panthers, where everybody thought was going to play like crap. How about the Jacksonville Jaguars surprising the world, knocking off the Indianapolis Colts, which a lot of people pick to win their division this year? How about the Washington football team knocking off the Eagles? Okay?
That was
with Wayne Haskins. So don't give me this crap. Well, it's early in the season, and we are going to play better, obviously, and our defense played and kept us in the game. The defense did keep you in the game. Where was the offense? The great offense, the Le'Veon Bell, who obviously pulled his hamstring and is going to be out for probably 4 to 5 weeks. We're not going to see him. Frank Gore was the best offensive weapon we had the whole day. So it was garbage football. That's what us Jet fans are watching. Garbage football, and everything to blame for the coach and the coach only. Stop blaming Sam Darnold. This is not Sam Darnold's fault. We want to see this kid develop. How are you expecting this kid to develop with no weapons? Look at the Washington football team. They got more weapons than the Jets. Every single football team.
Weapons or bad coaching. It's weapons and bad coaching on top of all of that.
It was garbage. CJ, Kevin, this was a garbage game. And the Jets should be ashamed of themselves. They should absolutely be ashamed of themselves. I don't want to hear about, well, this is early in the season and we're gonna come back strong next week. Hey, how about this? Stop going on Jets Overdrive or whatever the hell you call your show on YouTube and talk about all the great things you've seen so far this offseason. We saw Ashton Davis a little bit, and we saw him on the punt return, and then he tried to hobble and hurdle over somebody, almost killed himself early in his career. I mean,
and he coughed up the ball. That was almost a turnover.
Yeah. At that. Listen, be a problem for us. All right, because I think it is ingrained in us as Jets fans to want to try to find a silver lining. There is no silver lining in this. Yes, Marcus May played well, but I mean, is Marcus May going to be the only one to play well? Because Pierre Desir, who we kind of thought was going to come in and help solidify that secondary, and got benched in the first quarter. Brian Poole was trying to keep everything in front of him, and he's allowing first downs. Bless Austin played well. I kind of give that. I'll give that. But our defensive line, I mean, we did some things against the run, but they still had 100-some odd yards. I mean,
they couldn't, Kevin. They couldn't tackle. They couldn't tackle.
Yeah.
They couldn't tackle.
Was such bad tackling.
Josh Allen.
How could
Seriously?
you watch?
What really did we do? We didn't do anything.
How could you watch a football game?
That cockamamie, that cockamamie excuse. They couldn't do anything. And then I tweeted this. I tweeted that earlier. Way too much arm tackling. Way too much arm tackling. Way too much. Man.
I will say this. I have never seen a team in a football game play like –
again, I'm trying to rein this in because I don't want to just seem like I've completely lost faith in the team. But to be perfectly honest with you, what it is that we need to have faith in, we can't have it.
Well, I will say this. I watching the Jets play – I'd rather watch a high school football game, okay? I am not going to sit there all season long for 16 games and watching the lousy play calls, watch this kid get killed in the pocket. Now, first of all, the offensive line played fantastic. You say whatever you want about what the offense did this year. That was a good offensive line today. You played against one of the top defensive teams in all of football, one of the best pass rushing defenses in all of football. I think they were ranked 3rd or 4th last year in defense. They had 3 sacks, 2 of them that could have went both ways. It really could have. And Sam, there was a lot of mistakes Sam made with the ball. He should have, when somebody's trying to tackle you, throw the ball away. You don't get tackled. There was a lot of things that Sam did that you scratch your head and say, you've been in the league for 2 years. You played very well coming back from your injuries. Why did you make a play like that late in the game when you need to make plays or throw the ball away to keep your team in it? And he made some mistakes. But Josh Allen, all these people praising Josh Allen. Look how good Josh Allen looked today. I listened to Boomer Esiason after the game. Oh, I think this guy's going to be a real deal. Here's what I say. I listen to a lot of quarterbacks. I've talked to a lot of quarterbacks, if not recruits, NFL ex-quarterbacks, or even NFL players right now that are backup quarterbacks in the NFL. The problem right now with the quarterback position with the New York Jets isn't Sam Darnold. The problem with the quarterback position is there is no quarterback coach, because I don't know. I can't even name the quarterback coach for the Jets. And Adam Gase. There is
none.
No. And Adam Gase is a quarterback guru. Are you kidding me? This guy couldn't guru mice. If you put a mouse in the game and you put him with, you put whatever. I don't know what is it? What's that stupid mouse's name? Stuart Little. If you put Stuart Little as your starting quarterback, I mean, seriously, this is garbage. This is garbage football. As a Jet fan, as a fan, and I'm watching Tom Brady. Okay. Tom Brady right now he's not winning right now against the New Orleans Saints, and I don't think they're going to beat him. I didn't think they were going to beat him today. But even Tom Brady looks like he's played on his team for years. You look at the Jets, Sam Darnold looks like a deer with the headlights on. He has no idea what he is doing because you got an idiot for a head coach that's standing there with his damn stupid mask. He should hide himself in a hood. I would stick him in a bag and wrap it up and throw it over to the Buffalo Bills and let a Buffalo Bison eat him up. It was just completely ridiculous. This was uncalled for. And as a Jet fan, unfortunately, this is what we're looking forward to for the season. This is what we're going to watch. This garbage. And Joe Douglas, if I was Joe Douglas right now, not only will I wring Adam Gase's head, I would wring the coaching staff's head. I would fire somebody after this game today. not Adam Gase, because he's not going to do that, because him and Adam Gase are buddies right now. And Adam Gase is going to really look bad this year for him to get fired. But right now he's on his way for getting fired at the end of the season. I don't think Adam Gase is going to, he's not going to live after this season. I don't care if it's the second year. Unfortunately, it hurts Sam Darnold's development. Like you guys were saying, Kevin, you were saying it, because when you look at the big picture, Sam Darnold is 23 years old. You want to get this quarterback up to par as a top quarterback in his 5 years before he becomes a free agent, because then you got to pay him. That's when you got to open up your pockets. And when you open up your pockets, it screws up your salary cap. And you're watching all these quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson getting $40 million a year. You're talking about Dak Prescott making $38 to $40 million a year. Russell Wilson getting his new contract. This guy, Patrick Mahomes, getting $550 million. If you look at Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, these guys, if they're anywhere as close as good as people think they're going to be, they're going to make close to $400 to $500 million as well when they become free agents. And how are you supposed to build a team knowing that and building around the draft like Joe Douglas is going to do when you know that you're not going to be able to afford the other players when they become free agents? This is the time to get Sam Darnold developed, and now you're going to bring in another coach next year. I don't care who it is, Eric Bieniemy, whatever his name is, from the Kansas City Chiefs, whoever you're going to bring over. Jim Harbaugh, we've heard stories about him. Anybody, whoever you decide to bring in, and then you got to start over with this kid. And that's 2 years of building and him understanding the offense. And by then, he is a free agent. And then you got to pay a guy that you're unsure about. And if you pay him 5, 6, 7, 8 year deal worth about $40 million a year, you're stuck with him. So that's the problem right now with the New York Jets. It's stupid. And I got to
jump in on this, because
ahead,
this is to me. If Adam Gase finishes the season here, Sam Darnold doesn't make it to the 5th year of his contract. And that's because we're not going to be good enough to justify paying Sam Darnold $30 million a year. And we're not going to be able to bring in the free agents that it's going to take in order for us to build the team, in order for us to get to a point that justifies us paying him that money. If Adam Gase makes it to the end of next season, to the end of this season, if he makes it to the end of this season, I feel Sam Darnold is going to regress so badly, that we're going to go into this next season looking at, one of our next first 4 first-round draft picks are going to be on the quarterback. The whole point about Adam Gase, and I think this probably sets me off more than anything else, because Adam Gase is here because of a recommendation by Peyton Manning, who notably hated the Jets and refused to come here and said that he wouldn't play here. But all of a sudden, we're taking Peyton Manning's advice on a head coach who, for all intent and purposes, was Dowell Loggins to Peyton Manning in Denver. So, Adam Gase sat at Peyton Manning's knee. Sat on his knee with his elbow on his knee, like, oh yeah, please show me what it is that you're doing. My Lord have mercy. Peyton Manning allows us to have Adam Gase here, and Adam Gase is a bum. Mm-hmm. Adam Gase is a scrub, dude. There's nothing at all that I've seen Adam Gase do over the course of his tenure, not just here, but in Miami either, that makes me think that Adam Gase knows anything about coaching.
You are a factory of sadness.
Where it was, more than he knows about coaching where football is. And the longer that he is allowed to stay here, we talk about Sam Darnold progressing. Sam Darnold's not progressing. We saw today. Sam Darnold's footwork, his decision making. Oh my God, that is the perfect clip for that, because real talk, this guy is killing us, and there's going to be so many people that Facebook, you got to give him time. We don't have anything. We saw teams with less talent win games today against better teams, and we didn't even show up. at all. So, I mean, look, I think that has to do with the players that are on this team. Marcus May balled out today. Quinn Williams disappeared today. Mekhi Becton.
I will say this.
Well today.
I will say this. I'm sorry.
In his first game, the stage didn't look like it was too big for him. Yeah, there was a couple of penalties, but those were to be expected from a guy that's playing in his first NFL game. And the talent that he played against today, I think he played well. I've kind of, again, like I said, I kicked George Fant in the ass a couple of times, but George Fant actually played well today. There were certain things that we can see, but overall, no.
How about this? The benching of Desir. They paid Desir in the offseason. How many free agents, how many corners are we? Yeah, we hear you, man. We hear you. You go in and out, but how many times have we seen the Jets bring in free agent corners and they're not successful on this team? Desir, everybody keeps talking about Desir coming from the Indianapolis Colts. Speedy has talked about it on the show. I like him. He's a good secondary player. Desir got benched in the second half. He got benched for a guy like Hairston who couldn't find a job on another NFL team. So you're looking at the talent of the New York Jets in their secondary. They have no pass rushing whatsoever. Go look how many sacks the Jets have. The answer is 1. They had 1 sack, and that was from Quentin Williams. Okay? 1 sack. Actually, I'm sorry. No, they had Marcus May. Marcus May had 2 sacks too. But I look at those. I guess you can call them sacks. So they had 3 sacks. But 2 of them were from a safety, and the other one was from a defensive lineman. They don't have a defensive end. They don't put any pressure on the quarterback. Josh Allen had all day to make a throw. All day to make a throw. And Sam Darnold, he had all day sometimes to make a throw, but he has nobody to throw to because they can't create separation. That is the problem with the New York Jets. Say whatever you want. This defense could win. They can win with this defense. They will be able to win. They will be close in a lot of these games. A lot of people think the Jets are not going to be close in. Here's the problem. They're not going to score enough points to stay in the game to make it a game. And that is a huge problem. Now you don't have Le'Veon Bell. You don't have Denzel Mims. Both of these guys are going to be out 4 to 5 weeks. So where are you going to get your offense from? Frank Gore? Chris Herndon? I'm sorry. As much as I like Chris Herndon, I think he's a fantastic tight end. He looked horrendous all day. Couldn't find a way open. None of these guys could find a – Jamison Crowder had one wrinkle, which was lucky right through that Buffalo defense, and he scored a touchdown. I'll tell you this right now. I don't care what any Jet fan – if you watch that play over again, the Jets' offensive line was holding when that wrinkle happened. Okay, I watched the game. I watched it a little bit. I watched a replay for the show tomorrow. There was a lot of calls being called on the Jets, not enough on Buffalo because they were holding a lot. But nevertheless, I'm not going to make that excuse. 95 yards of penalties. 95 yards. They had Sam Darnold threw 212 yards. They had the Jets almost had 100 yards in penalties. Sam Darnold only had 112 more yards than penalties. That is sad when you think about a quarterback that everybody compare and contrast the talent that he is to Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson. They can't even put him in the order. And you want to know something? Sports Illustrated, they said it right. And I will say this, and I can't stand Sports Illustrated. They rated Sam Darnold to be the 27th quarterback in the league this year. The reason why? There is no weapons. He might even be worse than that. Baker Mayfield, by the way, is horrendous. Baker Mayfield will be on his way out after this season. He will not be the starting quarterback for the Browns after this season. You're going to be talking about the Jets and the Browns possibly trying to fight for that number 1 pick. And now sitting back, guys, and I love Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the future. If the Jets are drafting at number 1, are you drafting another quarterback? Are you going after Trevor Lawrence if they're getting the number 1 pick this year? And that's going to be a big question for Joe Douglas to figure out, because if they decide to go away from Adam Gase, okay, and Adam Gase is gone, you have Sam Darnold for another You have 2 more years left on his contract before he becomes a free agent. Do you want to go into another season where you have a quarterback that could have, in the next year or 2 years, he becomes a good quarterback for the league, and then you got to pay him? Or do you go after a guy that you're comparing to the talents of Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning coming out of college, where he's a sure thing, where you say, you know what, I'm going to go after Trevor Lawrence because I have control of him for 5 years with a new coach and a new quarterback coach and a new coaching staff. The Jets might move to that decision. I feel bad for Sam because Sam was put in this situation because of Mike McCagnon and because of the Jets organization and ownership. It's not fair to the kid. It really isn't. Yep. The kid was completely, you watched his face after the game. He is in no man's land. He is in no man's land. He doesn't know what to say. And even at the press conference today after the show, and I reached out to Eric Coleman, by the way, and I told Eric, I said, the Jets, I'll read it off to you guys to say what I said to him, because he did the pregame and the pregame show and the postgame show. This is what Eric told me in a text. I wrote the text, the Jets wide receiving core stinks. Geez, LOL. You know what he wrote to me? Yeah, weren't very good at all. That's what he wrote to me. No. And then I wrote, no, they had no separation. I felt bad for Sam. That's what I wrote to him. I felt bad for Sam Darnold because if this is the way the season is going to go, they might as well not play. They might as well lose every single game for the rest of the year, get the highest draft pick they can possibly get, and decide what they're going to do with Sam. Because to me, Sam, the way it's going right now, you cannot bring in another coach. That's a third coach in almost 4 years to be coaching Sam, where he's going to learn another playbook, another style of game, where it's going to hold him back for another 2 years. By then, when he figures out the playbook, he's 25 years old. It makes no sense. And this is why I look at the Jets, and as a Jet fan, I've watched garbage every single year over and over and over again since the Rex Ryan days of 2008, 2009, 2010, when the Jets had a decent team because Eric Mangini built it. This team has not been good for a long, long time. And as a Jet fan, and as any fan, you guys are Jet fans, and I know, CJ, I'm taking up your time. I am disgusted. Absolutely disgusted with this organization. And I don't blame Joe Douglas, because Joe Douglas was handed a bag of goods that was a bag of duds. Okay. His draft was great, but we don't know what these guys are going to be because we don't have the right guys to develop them. That's the problem.
And we don't know. And
we don't
know if his draft is great as of right now because really none of them played. Yeah.
We don't know what these draft picks are going to be, Errol, to be honest with you, because I completely agree with you as far as coaching is concerned. Now, personally, I think Adam Gase is going to end up lasting the year because the Jets have never fired a coach, in season and replaced them with something else. If there was ever a year where Adam Gase should have been fired last year. Okay. But he wasn't. So they went ahead. They gave him the benefit of the doubt. Adam Gase is going to get the benefit of the doubt for these 16 games. And then the chips will fall where they may at the end of the year. And unfortunately, we're going to end up as fans having to suffer through yet another year of crappy New York Jets football because we have a coach who thinks he's a quarterback whisperer. We have an offensive coordinator who basically may as well just have his mouth sewn shut. Okay. We have a defensive coordinator who's trying to pull every trick out of the bag to keep this team in games. But the defense spends 70% of its time on the field, and they end up digging a hole which they can't get themselves out of. And in the midst of all of that, we're ruining a franchise quarterback who, in my opinion, and I completely agree with you, Arrow, that the New York Jets have done dirty from the time that he walked in the door. They have done him dirty. They did him dirty. They did Geno Smith dirty. And to some extent, they also did Tim Tebow dirty. And they also did Mark Sanchez dirty. This is a team that has not developed a quarterback since Chad Pennington.
And I'm not sure how much they developed Chad. Chad actually benefited from a better team situation. But I'm not sure how much help they actually provided him. Look, this is really again, this is just going to boil down to the fact that we are fans of an unfortunate ownership situation, and our front office is bad, and I want to try to give Joe Douglas the benefit of the doubt. I know that Joe Douglas inherited a situation that has so many holes and so many gaps, and there really is only so much that you can. But the fact of the matter is that we are in a situation right now where if these things don't turn around this season, then it's going to be another 2 or 3 seasons before we actually can expect to see anything that even resembles advancement. I've been saying this all day because the difficulty is that wanting to give Joe Douglas the benefit of the doubt is that we are again looking at a completely depleted wide receiving core. It doesn't necessarily dismiss the fact that as a GM who is responsible for basic personnel decisions, that he wasn't banging the table to get rid of Adam Gase. And I mean, I don't know if Adam Gase was legitimately the reason why we actually landed Joe Douglas to begin with, but Joe Douglas should actually be the reason why Adam Gase is no longer with the organization, and we'll see how that works out. But the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of blame that can be laid in a lot of different places. But if Adam Gase finishes the season, I think that's the worst case scenario for Sam. I think if Adam Gase does finish the season, Joe Douglas will have no choice but to start researching bringing in new quarterbacks. I also think that if he does, maybe Sam will get an opportunity with the new head coach, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't draft a quarterback to begin with. That may be an unpopular take, but it is most definitely a reality that we're going to have to face if we are that bad for the entire season that we're picking again top 5 or in that range. You can't dismiss it. You just can't.
Well, I will say this to both of you. Right now, the Jets have looked as bad as any team so far on Super Bowl week. Super Bowl first week number 1 when it comes to the NFL season. They were absolutely terrible. And there is nobody. When you watch Jacksonville win, when everybody expects Jacksonville to lose, practically waiving players and trading players away because they want Trevor Lawrence. It's been coming out not only from the Jacksonville organization but from the Jacksonville newspapers and writers stating that Jacksonville will do anything in their power to lose every single game this season because they want Trevor Lawrence. When they have Minshew, who played better than any Jets quarterback has played in the last 2 years. So it's horrendous. After the game, I always watch my Jets games with one of my friends. He's a diehard Jet fan. He's been a diehard Jet fan since he was a kid. And every time I watch the game when the Jets make a mistake, I have him saying that the Jets stink. This team is cursed. They never get anything right. And he's absolutely right. I don't know if the Jets are cursed, but I look at this organization as a whole. This is poorly run. And I know everybody wants to blame the Johnson family, and that's fine. You want to blame the ownership, that's fine. They brought in Joe Douglas. I think they made the right decision. They should have never brought Adam Gase in. They had a chance for Mike McCarthy. They decided to walk away from it. I thought Mike McCarthy would have been a better fit for Sam Darnold because of what he did for Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. I thought he fit a little bit more of understanding of the West Coast offense. Sam Darnold understands the West Coast offense because he was coached by a West Coast offensive coordinator in his first season with Todd Bowles. It made more sense to bring in a guy like Mike McCarthy than a guy like Adam Gase, who, to me, I think I don't know if he knows his ass from his tailbone. I really don't. I even said after the end of the game, I could have created more separation to any of the Jets wide receivers in that game. I could have. And I haven't run a route since high school. I'm 38 years old. It's terrible. Perriman, he should be, to me, I will drop Perriman. I would drop Hogan after. I bring in rookies from my my backup team, my third team, my fourth team, whatever, my practice squad, because they'll probably do better than any one of these wide receivers. I don't want to hear from Perriman. I don't want to hear from Le'Veon Bell. I played hurt. I don't give a crap, because to me, all the Jets do is excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. There is no more excuses for this organization and this team. Win or go home. Don't even play the games, because that, as a Jet fan, watching that embarrassment of a team, I don't want to watch the games anymore. It's embarrassing. It is completely embarrassing. And I'll tell you this right now to both of you. If the Jets come out like that next week in the first quarter, I'm not watching the Jets for the rest of the season. I can't watch this. This makes me sick. Dude, I'd rather sit on a bowl and take a dump than watch that game. Okay? I'm serious.
No, realistically, what's the motivation next week? You know, to be honest, so
I'll give you my motivation
up for this game in particular. First game. Yeah, what's the motivation for the team?
I will tell you my motivation. I don't even drink, and I probably would have been better off getting drunk and watching that game, because I'd probably be smiling for no damn reason at the end of the game, because I wouldn't give a crap. Because to me, that team is an embarrassment to the organization. And anybody that watches this show, and I love this show, you guys are great. You guys know your Jets. Anybody that is a Jet fan can't honestly sit here and tell me that watching that game solves the thought that you think that this team is a contender. This team is a joke. It is a joke.
This team has a lot of work to do. Okay. I mean, look, okay. And I hate to do this, but I actually am going to throw some stats out there, because I just have to. I want some stats on this show for today's game. All right, so Sam Darnold finished with the stat line, 21 for 35, 215 yards. He averaged 6.1 yards per attempt. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Okay? Josh Allen, 33 for 46, 312 yards. Both career records, 6.8 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked 3 times for a total of 6 yards.
They both stunk.
Right.
They both stunk.
They both had mediocre stat lines, if you want to call it that, because the only bright spot on for today is that the Jets finally had a 100-yard receiver, and that was Jamison Crowder. He had 7 receptions for 115 yards, and
most of it came on one play.
9-yarder.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing too, another bright spot on the defense was Marcus May. Okay, he got 2 sacks. He had a couple tackles for loss. He forced a fumble. He was all over the place, and he was pretty much deployed today the way that we used to deploy Jamal Adams when he was here.
He's going to be a better player than Jamal Adams. I'm telling you right now. I said it to you guys. I said it to you guys, and I said it to all the fans on my shows. I will tell you this right now. By the end of this season, Marcus May will have a better season as a strong safety than Jamal Adams will as a strong safety in Seattle. I've said it, and I'll say it again. He is a better player than Jamal Adams. He was held up because Jamal Adams was the superstar. He was the guy. He was the face of the defense. And Marcus May's face was rubbed into the sand for all these years because he was the 2nd-round draft pick and 2nd safety drafted in that draft. And he wasn't highly profiled like Jamal Adams. I'm telling you right now, Marcus May is going to be a better player than Jamal Adams in the long run. You will see that. I'm telling you, he's going to be an explosive player. And Avery Williamson didn't play today. I don't understand why. That hurt the Jets. You have players calling the play at the line of scrimmage. The linebackers, none of them knew what they were doing. How many times did you see the linebackers trying to find out who was taking who on both sides of the ball on the wide receiver side? You saw them pointing. Nobody knows what to do. That's the problem. There is no consistency with this team. And I'm not going to take shots at the defense, because the defense in the second half shut down the Buffalo Bills. They shut them down.
Yep.
They did.
In fact, believe it or not, despite the fact of the score and despite the fact of the end result, the defense did not give up 100 yards total rushing. I mean, granted, they didn't have to because Josh Allen was dinking and dunking with Stephon Diggs and also, doing damage with his legs. But altogether, for the total team, 32 carries for 98 yards. And you know what? When you go and you take a look at that and you say to yourself, okay, well, the problem is that the Jet defense gave up 21 points in the first quarter and put themselves in a hole that this offense is not capable of being able to dig out. And I'm sorry, but the blame for that falls on Adam Gase.
Yes, and also the Jets gave up 14 points
to go 3 and out.
Yep, the Jets gave
right.
The Jets gave up 14 points in the first quarter, and then in the beginning of the second quarter, they gave up another touchdown early in the second quarter. So to me, they practically after the second quarter gave up. Really in the mid-second quarter, I would say with like 9 minutes left in the second quarter, all the way to the fourth quarter, the Jets gave up 6 points, which was in the fourth quarter. That is it. That's all the defense gave up. When you talk about how bad the Jets, and everybody keeps saying, well, the Buffalo Bills completely outplayed the Jets. No, they didn't. The Buffalo Bills lost their 2 starting linebackers who could cost them a possible playoff berth because one of them hamstring, the other one a shoulder injury. This could be both of them could be significant injuries. A hamstring injury can keep you out for 4 to 5 weeks, just like Le'Veon Bell and Denzel Mims. And then their linebacker, the shoulder, Edmonds hurt his shoulder. He could be out if depending on the MRI and what the MRI shows, he could be out 4 to 5, maybe even 6, 7 weeks. We don't know. So being that there is no preseason games and there's no practice, the practices are cut short because of the head trauma, the concussion situation with the NFL.
Hang on a second. I want to call absolute bullshit on that CBA that the NFL has. And I'm sorry, I'm about to go into a rant right now because let me tell you something. The NFL crop of players that we have playing today, they're nothing but a bunch of babies. Okay, because I tell you something right now, with no friggin' preseason, knowing under COVID-19 protocols, these guys should grow a set, go out there and bring back 2-a-days. That should have been the condition for this upcoming season. We see more hamstring injuries than anything. Give me a break with the hamstring injuries. What the hell is it? You freaking guys out for soft tissue injury. What are we running out? Monterey Football League?
I will say this. Sitting back, watching what I saw with the New York Jets, I'm not going to have pity for my team anymore. I am not going to pity this organization as a whole because they're in the AFC East with teams like the New England Patriots or the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins played a better game against the New England Patriots than the Jets did against the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills, all you Buffalo Bill fans are probably sitting there and laughing and having a good old time because you beat the Jets. Oh, wow, you beat the New York Jets. You barely beat the Jets, and you played horrendous in the second half of the game. Your field goal kicker can't kick it over the hash. They can't do anything in the open field either. And as good as Stephon Diggs looked, because the analytics show you that he did well for 7 or 8 catches for 86 yards or whatever he did. Stephon Diggs did not have a great game. Okay, he really didn't. So everybody keeps talking about how explosive this offense is going to be. This offense wasn't explosive. They barely beat a Jet team that has no offense. They have nothing. Look at them. They got a 40-year-old running back in Frank Gore now, 40 years old. They got a guy like Perriman who he was a number one. He was a top first-round draft pick a couple of years ago who's been on how many teams since he was drafted, okay? Perriman is, to me, a washed-up player who's not going to even make it past this year. They have guys like Chris Hogan is probably going to retire after this year because he's not the same Chris Hogan when he played for Buffalo and when he went to New England. He wasn't even that good there either. And then they have the other player like Herndon. I don't know what Herndon is, and I'll tell you this right now. Looking in the big picture of where the Jets are as a whole, as a team, they don't have anything offensively except Denzel Mims, and we don't know when we're going to see that kid. And when we do, every Jet fan is going to think that he's Odell Beckham-esque or he's the the Moses going through the Red Sea because they think he's going to change everything for the Jets. One player doesn't change everything for this organization. You need multiple players, multiple offensive players. And that's why this coming draft, going into the draft, unless they get the number one pick, I would draft your first round picks. I would draft a pass rusher, and I will draft the best guard-on wide receiver available. And the kid from LSU that was in the championship game, that's the kid I want. I want that kid. That's who I want.
With the first pick, with the very first pick, it should be him.
I want that kid.
We've got a lot of issues, and I mean, Errol, you spitting fire. Obviously, you're making a lot of great points, but I'm just gonna keep we don't even know what Mims is going to be at this point. Yes, he's got talent. Yes, he's got all those things, but we're at this point, we don't know what it is that any of these guys are going to be. I kind of thought Joe Douglas got a little too cute because he didn't address receiver earlier than, undrafted free agents. And Lawrence Cage, who I like, and Campbell, who I know has a lot of speed, but may not necessarily be a finished product. When it comes to being a wide receiver, I still think that those guys are probably better than Chris Hogan. And I would try to probably get rid of Chris Hogan as soon as possible. We had Hakeem Butler in a little while ago. I'm thinking you can't go wrong with bringing a guy like that in instead of actually bringing in Chris Hogan. But, as of right now, we don't have anything that is certain. We don't have anything that's concrete. And I think I don't want to allow my emotions to kind of get in the way of critical thinking in this case, but I'm pissed off. And I don't think that any decision that we have seen at this point in time can justify us looking the way that we did today. There's going to be so many points that are going to be made about not having talent and not having, household names and all of that. But, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, and I think Joe Douglas himself actually kind of reiterated that, we may not have household names, but we should have guys that are going to make plays, and the play doesn't care who makes it. But we're not really doing enough to make plays right now, and our defense is struggling because they're on the field too long. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not playing at a level that if they were to have rest that they could be successful, but it's difficult. When you can't stop a team from scoring 27 points because you're playing 70% of the game and your offense isn't doing anything to get a breather more than a minute and 40 seconds because we're going 3 and out every time.
Yep.
Frank Gore being the most impressive offensive weapon that we have so far as of right now is probably the worst case scenario for this team. And I think that, again, has a lot to do with what Adam Gase is trying to do. I'm going to reserve myself right now just a little bit because none of this is really making sense. All of this that we talked about, all of the stuff that we were expecting coming in as far as, maybe seeing guys put in position to be impactful, none of that is really happening. The one thing that I have to say is that most of that was supposed to be dependent upon what the offensive line looked like, and the offensive line actually didn't play poorly. So, what are all the other excuses? And it comes from the top down. It starts with Adam Gase. I think if we're looking the way that we looked in this game after week 3, week 4, we're going to start hearing a lot more from Greg Williams. And if we start hearing a lot more from Greg Williams, then I think we seriously have a problem for the remainder of the season. So, I don't know, man. It's creating so many more questions than what it is that we got answered today. This game, again, I'll just really be quick about that, but this was the worst case scenario for this team. Something has to change, and it has to change tomorrow, or we're in trouble.
Well, what they need to do is very plain and simple is that, they have to take stock in their wide receiver core right now. And I completely agree with you that Perryman needs to sit. I don't care what his contract was. Okay, Hogan needs to sit. I don't care what his contract was. Go get me George Campbell, get me Lawrence Cager. Put those kids out there. Because if we are going to screw the pooch, if this is going to be a 1 in 15 year, then I would much rather see kids out there that are hungry, that actually want to play. You know why? Because I want something that if this team is going to go 1 in 15 and we are completely going to tank, okay, that I want to see that there is something in this team's future that I have to look forward to. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of in the same boat with Daryl, although not as drastic. Okay? I will still continue to watch the Jets this season. But the more and more that I see these losses pile up, the more and more it'll be like it was when Todd Bowles was head coach, where I will become zombified. Okay? Where I basically will be apathetic toward this team instead of emotional like I am now. And the reason why I'm so emotional is because we waited all off season. All we heard was nothing but talk from this franchise. Oh, things are going to be better. There's a culture change. We saw some moves here and there. We figured, okay, you take a look at some of the moves on paper and you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together and you say to yourself, you know what? They may be onto something here. Maybe. And then you come out and you have a performance like this. Okay?
Man.
This team couldn't beat a Pee-wee football team right now the way that they're playing. You think?
And no,
they're going to come
everyone said something.
They're going to be competitive against the reigning NFC champions, San Francisco 49ers?
Everyone said something earlier that really kind of struck me.
Out there, and you think you're going to put them here? And you think you're going to get a win? What's wrong with you?
I've seen better football from 13 and 14-year-old kids, at least more impassioned football. And I'm not going to say maybe technically better because these guys are professionals, but I've seen more excitement. I've seen more, enthusiasm about making plays. I've seen better tackling from 13, 14-year-old kids in Long Beach, California. And this is difficult for me because I want so much to at least show some signs of life. And we're not showing signs of life for the most part. There's always one or two things. And this has been, I think this has been the plague of the Jets. We can always say we're not the worst team in the league because we've got guys that, that can play. We've got talent in spots. But that talent never translates to wins. And not only does that talent never translate to wins, but we never really maintain that talent for the long term.
Right.
Marcus May, who I think rightly so has actually showed that he's a phenomenal talent. Does he make it to a second contract? We're going to need to discuss that here within the next couple of seasons, right? Does it even work that way?
Not even the next
Sam
couple.
Darnold,
Kevin,
who again will be the second or third quarterback in a row that we drafted early that we thought would be a franchise guy, like next season.
Well, I will say this, Kevin, and I'm sorry to cut you off. Right now, Marcus May will be a free agent after this year. His rookie contract is up after this season. So they're going to have to open up their pockets or franchise him in the offseason. And to me, I would absolutely – you're not going to have to pay him Jamal Adams kind of money. Jamal Adams wants $90 to $100 million to make somebody like Marcus May happy. If I were the Jets right now, I'd sign him right now before the season ends. I'd give him a $50 or $60 million. I'll give him $50 million, 4-year contract extension, and keep him there because he is a leader. You saw him every time they made a play in the defense side of the ball, even if he wasn't involved with it. He was clapping his hand. He was getting his team involved. He's wearing the C. He is a leader. He is a born leader. They need leadership. And Quinn Williams, and I will say this, Quinn Williams is on here and there. We don't see him on the field enough. I don't understand a guy that you draft as your number 3 pick 2 years ago, and he is not on the field for the first, second, and third down. I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me. He should be on the field for 80% of the plays, not 40% of the plays. I don't understand what the Jets defense is doing. I understand Greg Williams knows what he's doing as far as what his players could do and what his players can't. If you know that Desir, you're going to take Desir off in the first game of the season. This was the first game of the season in the first half of the season. You took your top free agent at your cornerback position. You could have gotten Logan, and he went to the Giants, and Logan would have been a better fit for the Jets than Desir. And you watched him you watched Logan go to the Giants, where the Giants don't even have a chance to make the playoffs. And he could have helped the Jets out in the secondary. And now you have your two starters right now is Hairston and what's his name again from Rutgers? The kid that played well, number 31, Austin.
Bless Austin.
Yes. So this is the problem right now with the New York Jets. Not only is their secondary not as good as anybody thought it was going to be with Desir being there and adding a veteran, now you got to worry about where is the pass rush coming from? What side is it coming from? They tried to put Quentin Williams on both sides of the ball. They put him on the left side and they put him on the right side. He still couldn't get to the quarterback because if anybody wasn't watching, he was still getting double teamed. Quentin Williams was double and triple teamed more than any player in the NFL when he was playing in the game last year. What does that tell you? Everybody knows he's the best defensive player on that line. So what they do is they shut him down. They shut that whole line down. That's why Marcus May was coming up in blitz packages after the quarterback. He was the guy that they were hiding behind the line of scrimmage to try to get to Josh Allen if he's going to move inside and out of the pocket. That's what they were using. They can't do that every week. They can't. Teams are going to eat them up alive.
Eager to get back on the field. The whole purpose
that's 5 weeks.
To take the whole purpose that he was brought in was to take the pressure off of Quentin Williams. Because if you go and you roll Jabari Zuniga out there with Quentin Williams and either Kyle Phillips or Foley Fatukasi, you can create the push that you need to get up front. And the problem is that Jabari Zuniga will probably be out till week 3. And even then, he's still going to take him time to get up to speed. So we don't know how he's going to be deployed. Until then, Quentin Williams is going to continue to draw double teams and triple teams, and you're going to have to rely on other people to come in to make plays.
And you hear it, and you say this all over and over again. Now you're going to say Quentin Williams, you're not going to see enough of Quentin Williams. Even though he had a sack in the game and he didn't play enough, nobody's going to give Quentin Williams the credit because, again, they're going to say he's a bust because they don't have a pass rush, just like when you look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold don't have any weapons, so he's a bust too. That's the problem right now with the New York Jets. They don't have enough weapons on both sides of the ball where these guys could be deployed in the right positions to make plays and succeed in their position. So, again, we're looking at the New York Jets probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks where we might not see a win probably until week 5 or 6. And that, to me, means the season is over. And now we're playing again on where we're going to go in the draft. And you know the Jets, this is what always the Jets do. They lose the first 6 or 7 games, and then all of a sudden, after when it doesn't mean anything, they win 6 games out of their last 8 games, and they screw themselves out of a top draft pick. And that's the problem with this organization. When you know you're not going to do anything, all of a sudden when you don't need to win, you win. And when you do need to win, you don't win. That's the problem with this team and the organization. They have to understand something. If you know you're not making the playoffs after week 4 or 5, I'm not telling you to lose every game. Play the young players. See what you guys have. See where you guys are going to have to develop, where you're going to go into the draft next year. Because to me, you know you're not winning no championship this year. You're not good enough. And you know Adam Gase isn't the coach of the future. I'm sure Joe Douglas knows that Adam Gase is not the coach of the future of this organization. I'm pretty sure he understands now. Okay, so I think that you can't be that stupid to watch this team offensively and say that he's a quarterback guru, and this quarterback is completely dissolving from what everybody thought he was going to be as a top echelon quarterback in his draft class. So I'm worried about Sam Darnold because now we're looking at next season. You have 2 first-round draft picks next year. You have 2 first-round draft picks the year after. Do you start thinking that Sam Darnold is not the quarterback of the future for this organization moving forward, bringing in a new coach, and let the coach decide, the new coach decide if Sam's the guy, or do we go elsewhere? If you have a chance to get that number 1 pick, do you have a chance to decide, you know what, maybe we go after a guy like Trevor Lawrence. We have enough draft capital to get a wide receiver because you still have a number 1 pick. You still have Seattle's number 1 pick. We don't know what Seattle's going to be, even though they won today. And by the way, Seattle, as much as the Atlanta Falcons, I think is somewhat of a contender this year, Seattle hasn't played anybody yet. Let's see what Seattle's going to do when they have to play San Francisco. Let's see what Seattle does when they have to play the Cardinals. 2 times this year. Cardinals didn't play a good game either today. So I want to see what these teams are going to do. And when I look at the Jets and Joe Douglas, and I wanted to come on with you guys because I love what you guys have to say. I was listening to you guys, and as a fan, after the game, I was at Applebee's with a friend, and I couldn't even watch the Saints and Buccaneers game because I'm looking at Tom Brady in a Buccaneers uniform. Even though I should be happy, I'm upset because no matter what we do, we see the freaking stupid Patriots win no matter who's behind the line of scrimmage. It makes me sick to my stomach. Cam Newton, my favorite player in the NFL, is playing for the team and I absolutely hate. Darrelle Revis, when they won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, played for the team. My favorite player growing up played for the team I absolutely despise, okay? That makes me sick to my stomach when I look at my team and this organization as a whole, and they can't find a way to win. They can't find the right coach. They can't find the right quarterback. They can't find the right defensive lineman to get to the quarterback. Everybody knows the team is built between the trenches, an offensive line and a defensive line. And by the way, the only thing that we saw today on the offensive side of the ball that was any decently good was the offensive line. And that was the only thing that Joe Douglas was looking at in the offseason to restructure. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm sick.
Here's the thing. All right. And I want to tee this up.
That is the defensive backfield. Because the most focus that Joe Douglas paid was to the offensive line and defensive backfield.
So, all right. Kevin's having some audio issues over there.
I think it's internet. Kevin, what you need to do when next week, what you do is get an Ethernet cable and get it plugged into your computer, and it'll make your computer that much faster instead of going on Wi-Fi. You'll see, you'll be a lot faster. Go put an Ethernet cable into your computer, your laptop. It will be a lot faster. You'll never have this problem again. So,
all right. So anyhow, I want to tee up this thing. All right, because I was just thinking of this.
I will do this.
So, first off, I want to say hello to everybody who is actually tuning in and dropping comments. Shout out to John Suggs. He shot out back a little while ago. Time to let go of Greg Williams, defensive coordinator, with a question mark. Put a comment out there. Matt Ryan put up 450 yards and still got smacked. Brian Snow was asking if he could actually join the show. I told him, yeah, go ahead. I don't know where he's at. Mr. Robert Leader, Darnell, not Darnold, not Darnold. Okay, okay, Darnell. Okay, I didn't know we had a quarterback named Darnell, but okay, still seeing ghosts. And then give him $5 and a bag of White Castles. I have no idea what that means, but okay, whatever, dude. All right, so shout out to Tyrone Lusk. We don't need cheerleaders. We need playmakers. Completely agree with that. Joshua Kyle chimes in. You know the Jets will screw this up. They'll win a game or two and go 5-11, 6-10, and won't get that number one pick.
I agree with them.
And then Tyrone Lusk chiming back in. The Jets are cheap. Okay, so. All right, look, as far as the draft is concerned, if I'm GM Joe Douglas, and if I am fortunate enough to get that number 1 pick overall, let me tell you something. I am holding the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, baby. I will go ahead and put that pick up for any NFL team that wants to come up and come get Trevor Lawrence. Okay, but you know what? You're going to give me both arms, both legs, the key to the house, the key to the yacht, okay, your wife, your dog, your cat. I don't give a damn what you got, okay? You're going to mortgage the farm and then some for the next 2 lifetimes if you're going to deal with the New York Jets in that number 1 pick. And if not, then I'm going to go draft the best wide receiver that we got in that draft to bring Sam Darnold some weapons over here to pair up with Denzel Mims. Because I really think that we've so far addressed our offensive line problem for 1 game, even though the offense still struggled. But there are so many holes that still need to get filled on this team that if Joe Douglas truly intends to build through the draft, then you know what? It's time to start holding teams over a barrel the same way that Mike McCagnon used to let other teams hold him over a barrel in past drafts.
DJ, could I cut in for 1 second? I will say this. If the Jets are lucky enough to get the number 1 pick, I will even say this. Being that Sam Darnold has 2 more years left of his rookie contract, I would absolutely think about trading Sam Darnold in the offseason. If you're going to bring in a new coach and you think that this coach is going to be better off with Trevor Lawrence in the future than Sam Darnold, and you have 5 years to put this coach with Trevor Lawrence instead of 2 years with Sam Darnold, I would it's sad to say this because I like Sam. I would even look to trade Sam Darnold in the next year's draft, before the draft, get what you can get for Sam, and you probably can get a first-round draft pick for Sam, because I think a lot of people know that Sam could be a future franchise quarterback for your organization. Bring in Trevor Lawrence and then go draft a wide receiver. Then you'll have possibly another first-round draft pick, or even you'll get a second, a third, and a fourth for Sam, and then you still have another first-round draft pick to draft your wide receiver. Build around the stock, because Trevor Lawrence could change their organization, especially if you're going to bring in a new coach. If you bring in Eric Bieniemy, right? He's a lot of people think, and Eric Coleman loves him. Eric tells me that this guy is going to be a star head coach in the NFL no matter where he goes. He's very surprised that nobody gave him a job. If this season is over and Bieniemy did interview for the New York Jet job 2 years ago, and the Jets decided to go with Adam Gase, if Eric Bieniemy is still available at the end of this season, and they decide to bring him in, I think Bieniemy would probably go with somebody like Trevor Lawrence if you have the number 1 pick, because you have a couple more years to work with Trevor Lawrence, build in your offense where you're not rushing to pay a Sam Darnold 2 years from now, no matter if he is a franchise quarterback or if he's not. And to me, it's sad to say, because I think Sam is getting, he's getting the arrow in the back of the back of the back. It's not Sam Darnold's fault that they don't have any weapons. It really does. It's not his fault that nobody can create their own separation. I honestly think, and a lot of Jet fans will probably agree with me, if the Jets get the number 1 pick and have the number 1 pick in this year's draft, you definitely have to look at the offseason. If you're bringing in a new coach and you don't want to pay Sam Darnold $40, $50 million, even if he shows in 2 years that he's a franchise quarterback moving forward, where it can affect your salary cap and your organization moving forward for the next 5-6 years. So if you get the number 1 pick, I definitely have to look at possibly drafting Trevor Lawrence and trading Sam Darnold. I'm sorry, but that's what I would do if I was a GM and I was running my organization, knowing that I have control of them for 5 years and I have to overpay, $40-50 million. The normalcy of money right now, these quarterbacks, Nick Foles is getting paid $22-23 million every single year as a backup quarterback for the Chicago Bears. So, I mean, these quarterbacks are making a lot of money, and I'm not paying Sam Darnold in 2 years thinking that he's the franchise quarterback that maybe doesn't fit Bieniemy or whoever you bring in as a head coach, fit his offense, and then you have to start over again with another coach if Bieniemy doesn't fit somebody like Sam Darnold. And then Sam Darnold's going to have not 3 coaches in 5-6 years. You're going to have 4 or 5 or 6. He's never going to develop. So maybe he might be used goods for the New York Jets organization after this year if he shows that he can't really develop, even with Adam Gase and no weapons. So I'm sorry, sitting back and thinking about it right now and talking to you guys, if the Jets are the worst team in the NFL and they're 1-15, or they don't win one game this year, I think they're going to win at least a couple of games. I still think that they're qualified. I think they're an 8-8 team this year. But if they just completely fall flat on their face, you have to look at Trevor Lawrence being the guy. If you have the number one pick, not trading away that pick, drafting him and trading Sam Darnold and trying to get as many picks back for Sam, because in 2 years, guys, you got to pay Sam. And I don't know if the Jets want to put stock in Sam Darnold if you really don't know if he's the future quarterback of your organization.
I don't know about that. That's probably the only point that I'll disagree with you, Errol. I think honestly, if I'm Joe Douglas and I'm bringing in a new head coach, I know that head coach is going to rebuild that offensive staff, I take one more kick at the can before 2
years. 2 years. That's CJ. Just think about it. 2 years. Sam Darnold's been with the Jets. That's 3 coaches in 5 years.
But the thing is that it's not the kid's fault.
I want to jump in.
Jeremy Bates, Adam Gase, and Darryl Loggains. Yeah. It's not his fault. Okay, if Eric Bieniemy comes in and he brings in a good offensive coordinator, say he brings in a John DeFilippo or he brings in a Greg Roman, and they actually go out and they invest in a quarterback's coach, okay, this kid can take the next step.
I'm not saying that he can't, but are you willing to take a chance in 2 years when you have to pay this kid and then you lose it, and then you lose, and then Trevor Lawrence
with better coaching, Sam Darnold will be a Pro Bowl quarterback. He'll be a franchise quarterback, and he'll finally shut these goddamn people up that still want to sit there and say that he's a bust.
And what happens if Trevor Lawrence becomes the best quarterback in
I have to say that
that's the same thing.
I got to say at this point,
you roll the dice. How do we even know that Trevor Lawrence's skill set is going to translate to the NFL?
Well, here's the thing. And I know what you're going to say, CJ, and you're going to say, well, if you watch Trevor Lawrence, you look at his size, his ability to move inside and out of the pocket, his arm strength is the best that I've seen since Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this guy could throw 70, 80-yard passes on his knees. I saw him do it. He threw a ball 80 yards on his knees over the field goal. You know what I mean? This guy can throw the ball, and he's very accurate. He's won a national title at the age of 17. This guy has been the best quarterback in college football since he came into college football as a freshman. So I'm not saying that Sam Darnold isn't the quarterback of the future for the Jets, but again, I'm going to go back.
The coach's decision, though.
Mm-hmm. Here's the problem, Kevin and CJ. Are you willing to take a chance and pay Sam Darnold, let's say 2 years, his first year with Eric Bieniemy, if it's Eric Bieniemy, I'm just giving a name. The first year with Eric Bieniemy, he does okay.
I still think it's the coach's decision.
Mm-hmm. No, it is the coach's decision. And I believe that thinking about bringing in another coach, Eric Bieniemy, and I know Joe Douglas. Sam Darnold was not Joe Douglas. It wasn't Joe Douglas's pick. That was Mike McCagnon. Now, I do believe that Joe Douglas believes in Sam Darnold. But if you're going to tell me that in 2 years with having Eric Bieniemy as your head coach, and you think that Sam Darnold, after his second year with Eric Bieniemy, he's gotten better. He threw 3,600 yards. He's 25 years old. His agent, you saw what Sam Darnold, his agent wanted more money before he came and, in his rookie contract. He missed a bunch of practices before he got his rookie contract because he wanted an extra $3-4 million. What do you think is going to happen if he has a season with 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions? They're going to say, well, he looks like he's a franchise quarterback. We want $50 million a year. The Jets are going to have to pay him $50 million a year, and then the next year he becomes a bust.
I don't think that's going to be the case, though. Okay, because we're not talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick here. All right, we're talking about Sam Darnold, and I got you. I'm on your side, man. and you bring in, if you go and you bring in, say, an Eric Bieniemy, okay, and say if you, I don't know, if you bring in an Eric Bieniemy, if you bring in maybe a Jim Harbaugh, maybe somebody else becomes available, and there's a bunch of different things that would have to go wrong at this point. Okay, if you bring in someone who's another offensive-minded head coach, and they actually go and take the time to rebuild this coaching staff step by step by step by step, then I definitely think they will have the opportunity to see the real goods that Sam Darnold brings to the table.
But are you willing to take a chance, CJ? Are you willing to sit back after?
Because at least I know what Sam Darnold is. If Sam Darnold with better coaching, if Sam Darnold with better coaching becomes that Pro Bowl quarterback, and we decide that, you know what, we're going to punt on this kid, and we go and we bring in Trevor Lawrence, and say we go and we trade him to, who knows, Cleveland or Houston or whoever needs a quarterback, okay? And we go and we get a haul of draft picks for him. And then all of a sudden, what ends up happening is that Sam Darnold blossoms and Trevor Lawrence comes to New York and can't hack it. What do we do then? What, are we going to wait another 4 years to put all of our assets into Trevor Lawrence?
CJ, if you look, and I'm not saying to get rid of Sam Darnold. That is not my argument here. I'm not like the other guy that you had on your show, whatever he calls himself. I don't remember his name.
Jackass, but go ahead.
I'm not like that. I'm not going to take a shot at the Jets organization. I'm here as a Jet fan, as an analyst, and I'm analytically looking at the situation of where the Jets are. If you look at the big picture right now as the Jets organization, and Joe Douglas, he likes to make sure that he doesn't overpay with contracts. Sam Darnold in 2 years, if you bring in a new coach, is going to be asking for a big-time contract. And he's going to want 5, 6, 7, 8 years of a contract. And you still don't know if he is the franchise quarterback after the second year with your new coach, after having Adam Gase and Todd Bowles there. And you have a chance to get arguably the best prospect quarterback since Andrew Luck. That's what they're saying. This guy is a sure thing at the quarterback position. And you decide to pass up on him. Just like you say, well, we could trade Sam Darnold and he goes to another team. He becomes a superstar. Trevor Lawrence is even a higher prospect than Sam Darnold was going to play college football. This guy is one of the best college quarterbacks we've seen in a very long time. He's big, he's strong, he can throw, he can run, and you got the number one pick. You have the dreams and admirations to finally have a guy that you have for 5 years, control for 5 years, and build around him, knowing that Sam Darnold in 3 years, being that he's had 2 terrible coaches and the team really didn't build around him, mentally he's not stable anymore, and maybe he needs to get out of New York and go somewhere else and see if he can figure it out somewhere else. Look, he's not Geno Smith. He's not Mark Sanchez. We know. Sam Darnold, I'll say this over and over again. Sam Darnold has been the best quarterback. I think he's the most talented quarterback we've had since Chad Pennington. And Vinny Testaverde, he wasn't even our draft pick. That was the last time we had good quarterbacks. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. It's not Neil O'Donnell. I don't want to hear about Browning Nagel or anybody else we had or O'Brien. The last quarterback that we had that was good was Chad Pennington. And then with his shoulder problems and everything all the woes that he's had in his career, he wound up going to Miami and knocking the Jets out of the playoffs and getting the number 1 seed. But that's a whole nother story. I'm looking at the Jets as an organization. If I was the owner of the team, if you have the number 1 pick and you believe that bringing in a new coach, a new offense, and it's going to take 2 years to figure it out, just like it did for Sam. It took 1 year with Todd Bowles for people to realize that Todd Bowles wasn't the guy. It's going to take 2 years for people to realize that Adam Gase, the quarterback guru, isn't the guy. And then you bring in another offensive coordinator to try to develop Sam Darnold. I think he's used goods. I really do. I think I'm worried about his head, his mind. Dude, when he walked off the field today, he didn't look like he was all there. He was very upset. You saw it in his face, and he realizes now he doesn't have a playmaker on the field. And now without Le'Veon Bell for probably 5 weeks, depending on Perriman, who couldn't catch he couldn't catch a beach ball, okay? And then you have Chris Hogan, who looks like he's a washed-up player. They have nobody. They got no weapons. So what makes anybody think that the Jets are going to be able to compete this year and win 8 games? I don't know if I even see 8 games, unfortunately. I'm scared for the kid. I don't want to see him get killed. And not because of the offensive line, because the offensive line can hold him for 4 or 5 seconds. 6, 7, 8 seconds, he's gonna get killed. And I'm worried about him. And I'm worried about this organization because all in all, as far as talent is concerned, and you know this, Kevin, you know this, CJ, and we've watched enough football. I'm 38. You guys are older than me, so you know a little bit more than I do when it comes to this organization. All in all, this organization has been a joke for the last 25 years, and some people would say for the last 50 years. It's been completely a joke.
Right, and the thing is that, Jet fans are sick and tired of, waiting for the other shoe to drop because it's like every time we're promised something or, the franchise talks about us, oh, we got this on the horizon, we got that on the horizon, we got the other thing on the horizon, and then you don't go out there and you don't feel the competitive product, and then you have a showing like you had today. Now, look, I understand it's game 1, no preseason, but you know what? I'm not looking for excuses. We were sold a bill of goods at the entire offseason that this year was going to be different. This is the year that everything was going to click. All right? So you know what? Stop your talking and go out there and perform. And so far, you're shooting blanks. Sorry for all those who suffer with ED, who feel badly about it. But you know what? You shot blanks today.
I'd rather shoot blanks than watch that football team.
Turn it up.
Right.
All right.
This is going to be difficult for us because this is truly the beginning of almost every single season as Jets fans for us. We watch preseason, we watch the off season, we see how, certain things are supposed to shape up or how the expectation is that we bring in guys that are supposed to, move us to the next level. And we have outings like what it is that we have today. So, until we get beyond that, until we resolve those issues, we as I guess realistic Jets fans have a lot to gripe about. We have a lot to be pissed off about. Again, CJ, even part of the intro, we got to be seen as a big boy team, and until we win, that's not going to happen. And as of right now, we're not even. It doesn't even look like we're close to being able to win.
Errol, anything to follow up?
Well, the one thing I will say about this organization as a whole, and I'm not trying to put all the Jet fans to discuss, but I'm one of those guys. I know it's the first game of the season. And I've been talking and I've been ranting and raving about this New York Jet team. But sitting back and listening to the different analytics after the game and listening to the post-game show with Eric and the different analysts that the Jets have, you can't honestly sit back and think that this team is just going to come back next week against the San Francisco 49ers, the NFC East champions, and go into a game and expect to win this game. I am not going to bet on this. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be so surprised if this is another blowout. This team is just completely appalling. Now, what I want to see the Jets, if I see the Jets play good defense and keep into this game. Stay in this game. Don't let Jimmy Garoppolo score 3 touchdowns in 1 quarter against you or completely pull away, and you keep this a fair game, then at least we watch the Jets play a competitive game. But today, even though the game and the numbers look at it, that they're close at, and when you look at Allen and Darnold, you try to compare and contrast their numbers, they're not too Allen didn't play that much better than Sam Darnold if you look at the numbers and the fumbles and all the different things that they have done wrong in the game. But all in all, the Buffalo Bills are just a much more built, better, talented team than the New York Jets. And I'm sorry for all you Jet fans and even me thinking that shame on me thinking that the Jets were going to compete with this team, because the Jets defense is nowhere close to the Buffalo Bills. It just isn't. It's just not. The Buffalo Bills are a championship defensive team. The Jets aren't. Avery Williamson, who I thought was going to play, did not play today. They had no quarterback on the field. C.J. Mosley's out for the season. This guy played one game in 2 years. And now I guarantee you the Jets are going to drop C.J. Mosley's contract next year. He is not going to be a Jet next year. They are not bringing him back because they overpaid. Joe Douglas didn't want C.J. Mosley because $80 million or $86 million. He's the highest paid or second highest paid linebacker in the league. They're not going to keep that on the salary cap. No way. Le'Veon Bell will be gone next year. They're not keeping that on the salary cap anymore. So this team is going to have to rebuild from all the free agents that they brought in and now bring in new free agents that are going to have to learn a different system. And that's what scares me as a Jet fan, because I just don't know where this team is going anymore. If you're smart, I agree with you, Kevin. If Adam Gase doesn't figure this out in 5 weeks, I'd fire Adam Gase before week number 6 or week number 7, before their week break. Bring in Greg Williams, let Greg Williams take over as the head coach for the rest of the season, and then decide on where you're going as far as I'm concerned, as far as the coach is concerned, and see if Sam Darnold is the quarterback for your team moving forward, or do you decide getting as many picks as you can for Sam, and if you have the number one pick, this is the only thing, CJ, if they have the number one pick. If they have the number 2 or number 3, you trade out of that pick, you get the best wide receiver available. But if you have the number 1 pick in this year's draft, you can't honestly tell me that you're going to sit back and say, you know what, we're going to trade out of that pick and we're not going to draft Trevor Lawrence when he could be the next big superstar quarterback moving forward in all of football. I'm sorry, even as a Jet fan, and I love Sam Darnold, I'm not going to sit here and honestly tell you that I'm going to sit back and say, no, Trevor Lawrence, we're just going to trade out of the pick. We believe in Sam. I don't know if I do that. Kevin, I know you wouldn't do that either if you're thinking about the big picture.
No. I personally, I just want to think back on it, because to be perfectly honest with you, that's where this is leading, regardless of if we want to be at seat or not. That's where this is leading. I would
bad over there.
I would consider we're gonna fire Adam Gase. We don't let Darryl Loggins back on the plane on the way back home from whatever game it is that we're playing. When we fire him also. You let Jim Bob Cooter be the offensive coordinator going forward. Man.
CJ, we're gonna have to.
What's going on, man?
We're gonna have to fix.
To be good. Anyway.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, he's going to have to get an Ethernet cable. You're going to have to tell him to get an Ethernet cable and plug it into his computer, because it's just going in and out. But he's absolutely right. You have to sit back and realize that it's all about the head coach. If the head coach believes that Trevor Lawrence is the guy that he wants to move forward with the organization, if Joe Douglas decides to bring in a new head coach, well, that's what he's going to have to do. I see you have Snowman coming in. I see he's trying to come in.
On the air.
Does this answer your question?
How come I can't see your beautiful face? What's the matter? You're
Probably
embarrassed?
because my beautiful face is shadowed underneath the camera. I didn't turn on yet.
That figures.
Hold on. You would think I get, and this is for Arrow, you think I would get technology down by now when I don't. also, Mr. Marks, I adore that hat.
Thank you.
Okay. I adore that hat. For many of my Chicago friends, that hat means everything to me.
Well, I'm not a Chicago fan, but I love Jordan. I love Jordan hats. I've always been a Jordan fan when it comes to his hats and his sneakers and his shirts. So I wear a lot of Jordan, Jordan stuff, but I'm not a Chicago Bulls fan.
I know you're not a Bulls fan, but I miss that kind of basketball.
So do I. So do I.
When it was real basketball, when people cared about it, when we were glued in front of the television in June and not September, when playoffs were going on. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's because I'm old and my wife's going to walk by and give her thumbs up on that because I am. I just turned 48 in July. Maybe I have to get off my lawn atmosphere.
You are a factory of sadness!
Thank you.
I don't know, man. As a Jet fan and as a person sitting here, and I love you, Snowman, and I love Kevin and I love CJ. I have a lot of respect for all of you guys, and I sit here and I love talking New York Jet football, but it is a complete embarrassment what this organization says after a game of that magnitude when you're trying to tell everybody throughout the country and throughout the world, and Joe Douglas coming out and saying that we are a team to be reckoned with. Just because we don't have the names on a team, we still believe that we have players that could be future Pro Bowl players or future stars on this team. To me, what we saw early in the game is Cashman couldn't stay on the field, hamstring or quad problem. This team can't stay healthy. They have no players that can create separation. Their offensive line is definitely better, but we don't know what this offensive line is because they don't have any weapons to throw to. And then you look at this defense, we don't know if they're hot or cold at any parts of the game. Once in the first quarter, they can stop a nosebleed. And then in the second half of the season, they shut down a good offensive team. So I don't know what the Jets are. I don't know where this organization is going. And I don't know, sitting back, and even as a Sam Darnold fan, I don't know if I can honestly sit here today and say, you know what? If we get the number one pick, if the Jets get the number one pick in the draft, I'm not going to sit here and think not to draft Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if I can honestly sit here and say, you know what? I like Sam, but in 2 years he's a free agent, and you're bringing in a new coach, and now you're going to have to pay Sam Darnold, and you still don't know if he's a franchise quarterback, and you have a guy sitting there right now who could be the next Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, or the next big superstar quarterback that everybody's saying that he is. I'm sorry, as a Jet fan, I'm not sitting here saying, I'm going to trade out of that pick. If I'm getting it, I'm drafting him. I'm sorry, that's the way I'm going.
You do exactly what the Colts did when they knew Peyton Manning was at the end of his rope. You saw Andrew Luck at Stanford. You knew what he can do. You knew what he can bring to the team. Draft him. You do the same. And after I saw what Trevor Lawrence did last night, though it was Wake Forest, Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence, period. Okay? If you get a chance, if you're the Jets and you get the number one pick, blow it up, snatch Trevor Lawrence, and rebuild. I hate saying the word rebuild, but A, we're talking about the New York Jets, and B, we're talking about a team that had a chance to make a statement today, and they didn't because they got plowed in the first half. The first 20, 25 minutes of the first half, they got plowed with 21 points, and the Buffalo defense made it stand up. It was 27-17, but you knew after the Bills went up 21-0, this game was finito. How the hell were the Jets, as they are constituted right now, going to wipe out a 21-0 deficit that they could have prevented? And Errol, you and I have talked about this a lot. They could have prevented this 21-0 deficit, and they didn't. They got smacked in the face. They got kicked in the crotch, and Joe Douglas and company, Adam Gase included, is doing nothing about it. And CJ, this is for you. This is the impression I laid on CJ earlier today, and I have to do it now. You know something, man? This damn Jets team just gets on my nerves. How can you sit there, Joe Douglas? How can you sleep at night with how pathetic your club is right now? How can you sleep at night when you got Adam freaking Gase, that's how he always says it, as your coach right now?
That's good. That's CJ. That's CJ, and I agree with you, Snowman. Again, I can rehash everything over and over again. I'm not even going to sit here and rehash it.
What's it going to What's it going to do until it gets solved?
Exactly. And I'm telling you, all you Jet fans, you sit here today, and you honestly, we can put up a poll right now. CJ, you could put up a poll and ask them, if you get the number one pick in this year's draft, you're not drafting Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry. If you're getting the number one pick, as good as Sam Darnold could be in the future, knowing that you have to pay him in 2 years with a new coach now you have 3 coaches in 5 years, and you don't know what Sam Darnold is. I even though a lot of teams will probably give you a possible first-round draft pick for Sam because you think that he's not used goods. He's still a young quarterback. He's 23 years old. I definitely think to move him and bring in Trevor Lawrence because he is the guy that a lot of people think is the next Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, or the next big superstar quarterback in all of football. So, and everybody is going to try to look at Jacksonville. Everybody thought they were going to waive all their players and trade all their players like they did so far this offseason, and they won their first game. So they're out of that number one pick right now. As of right now, the teams that lost have the better opportunity to get Trevor Lawrence. And I'm telling you right now, if Baker Mayfield lose another 2 games early in the season, Baker Mayfield's on his way out from the Browns. And you know the Browns are going to be looking and losing for the rest of the season to bring in somebody like a Trevor Lawrence.
But the team that could sneak up and get Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville's out of the equation now, could be where he's based right now, and that's Carolina. Carolina lost today, a game they should have won. They should have come all the way back and beat the Raiders, but the Raiders came back and beat them. So now you have Carolina in the equation, you have the Jets in the equation, and I don't care what anybody says right now. I agree with you, Errol. Cleveland's in the equation. Cleveland is in the equation to get Trevor Lawrence. Because I don't see any kind of way Baker Mayfield bouncing back from a bad performance today, which has been his operative. Baker Mayfield has had more bad performances than good. So how the hell can you say Cleveland's not in the race for Trevor Lawrence?
I agree.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, it's still the first game of the season.
I know.
And I know right now it just seems like, overreaction is the thing. The Gase sucks, the team sucks, this sucks, and that sucks. I get it. Okay, look, I'm just as pissed as anybody else. But you know what? I'm not ready to close the book on Sam Darnold just yet. I'm not ready to say that this kid is a bust. I'm not ready to give up on this kid. But you know what? That feeling may change as the season goes on.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bust either. I'm sorry I'm cutting you off. I don't think Sam Darnold is a bust either. I don't. But if you get the number one pick and you're a really bad team this year, you got to rebuild. You got to rebuild because Sam Darnold in 2 years is going to want $40 to $50 million a year. His agent, you saw what he did when he was a rookie contract. He didn't play for a week. He didn't come to practice for a week because he wanted that extra $2 or $3 million.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, whatever Sam Darnold's contract situation has nothing to do with what's going on right now.
Right, I got you.
Right now is this kid needs to get better in this offense, which means that Adam Gase needs to stop being a pain in the ass and needs to pull that playbook out and actually draw up some plays that this kid could actually perform. And you know what? Joe Douglas needs to now start scouring every garbage bin there is and every practice squad there is throughout the NFL and go get this kid some wide receivers because you know what? It's clear that Brashard Perryman is not the answer.
No.
Okay. Herndon, we still don't know what he is. He had a terrible game today, and you know what? That would, in my eyes, that would constitute him being benched. Okay, so you go put in a Ryan Griffin. I am not going to throw the towel in on this season until every single option has been explored and exhausted. And Snowman got the towel right there. He's like, I'm going to throw it for you, man. Throw in the damn towel. Throw in the damn towel.
I'll make a comparison. My 49ers lost today by 4 to Arizona, to an improving Arizona Cardinal ball club. I'm sure as hell not going to throw in the towel on the defending NFC champs when half of their receiving core is injured, including Deebo Samuel, including Brandon Ayuk. If you have a chance to win, and if you don't execute, you just don't execute, period. It's game one. That's a situation that's positive. with the Jets, however, and I'm not saying Sam Darnold's a bust. I'm not saying you can't throw the
I
towel
don't
in on him
think I
yet.
said that either.
But I hate to say this, CJ, and I hate to say this, Aaron, as I'm backing up a little bit. But
You don't have to say it.
There.
There.
Well, it doesn't bode well for the New York Jets because guess who they're playing next week? The San Francisco 49ers, and they just lost their first game this week, and they're going to come out hard against the Jets.
I'm going to say it right now. They're going to be pissed off. The 49ers have to spend the next 2 weeks in the Meadowlands. They have to play the Jets, and they also have to play the Giants. So after losing to Arizona, a team they swept last year, which means they're going to sweep everybody else in the division, they're going to come to New Jersey, and they're looking for blood twice.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and it doesn't bode well for the Jets. It would have boded well better for the Jets if San Francisco won today with their wide receiver woes and then go to the Meadowlands and lose against the Jets in a surprise game. Right now, Arizona, a lot of people, Eric Coleman came out and said that he thinks the Arizona Cardinals are a pretending team. I do not believe they're a pretending team. I think they're a borderline contender. I say they're a pretender because I don't know what this team is going to be at full strength, but in all, they can absolutely squeak into the playoffs, and they're a scary team because they have a wide receiver that they got practically for free, and I think I think he's one of the most explosive wide receivers in all of football. He's a scary player, and I'm not saying I'm giving up on Sam Darnold at all, and all the fans that would think that I'm doing that, it's a lie. I'm not giving up on Sam Darnold, and I am Sam Darnold's biggest fan. But if you're going to honestly tell me sitting here, I'm sorry, what, CJ?
Let me ask you guys a question.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Joe Douglas and you know that you have this draft capital at your disposal right now, do you turn to Pittsburgh and you offer a second rounder for Juju Smith-Schuster?
No.
Because you don't know what you're going to get with Juju. Mm-hmm. Remember, Juju's mentor was Antonio Brown. When Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster were on opposite sides of the field, they wrecked shop, especially with a healthy Ben Roethlisberger. Now that Schuster is the lead receiver in Pittsburgh, what are you going to get with him? Mm-hmm. Because he had to depend on Roethlisberger, and he went out with an injury. He had to depend on Mason Rudolph, and he went out with an injury. He had to depend on 3 different quarterbacks to throw to him. And this is after the first year where he came out like gangbusters because Antonio Brown was on the other side of him, and he had, once again, a healthy Ben Roethlisberger. I don't make that trade. No, I do not make that offer.
All right. I just wanted to throw it out there because, the Jets desperately need wide receiver help. So do you guys see the Jets going out there and possibly targeting somebody this week?
No, I don't. I don't either. No. You know why? Because I don't see anybody that's going to be available that's going to really stand out to the Jets. I think the Jets organization still thinks that this is the first week of the season. There was no practices really. There's only one practice every single day, and there's no preseason. So they're going to make those excuses that these guys are going to have to figure things out. Yeah. Exactly.
You can make that excuse about every team, but again, it goes back to what I said before, gentlemen. The Jets could have easily prevented a 21-0 deficit if they knew how to stop a Buffalo offense where all they did repeatedly in the first half when they got in trouble, they ran Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. 3 separate occasions in the first quarter alone, 15 yards, 13 yards, 12 yards on third down.
Josh Allen was their leading rusher on the day.
Yep.
Here's the Jets draft stock next year in 2021. They have 2 first-round draft picks, a second round, 2 third rounds, a fourth, 2 fifth rounds, a 6th, and a 7th. They've got a ton of draft capital. They don't – honestly, if they get the number 1 pick, they don't have to trade down to try to get more. If you got the number 1 pick, you draft the best player available, and if it is a quarterback, you draft them. That's the way it goes. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Unfortunately, it slams and slaps Sam Darnold in the face. I feel bad for the kid, but all in all, you have to look at the big picture of your franchise. Is this guy better than this guy when it comes to the franchise for the next 5 years or the next 12 years. That's the way you got to look at it. And unfortunately, it's going to hurt. It hurts as a Jet fan to say, because you love Sam Darnold and you love the person that he is. If you get the number one pick, you don't trade out of that pick to add more draft capital, because you got a ton of draft capital this year and next year.
And if you trade out of that pick and lose all your capital, then what? You're going to have to throw a whole bunch of money at Sam Darnold. You're going to have to you're going to face a decision. If you trade out of that number one pick, you're going to face a decision that the 49ers faced 4 years ago. Do you pay him now or do you pay him later? What the 49ers faced when they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo, they could franchise him and then they could pay him. That would have been $61 million over 2 years. What the 49ers did, which was smart, and Garoppolo's proving his worth. I don't care what anybody says. Garoppolo's proving his worth because the 49ers had in him $73 million over 5 seasons. They have him locked in now, and the first year back from an injury, where did he take him? He took him to the Super Bowl. You know what Garoppolo just did? He just locked in his future with San Francisco. Everybody that was involved with the 49ers last year has just locked in their future. They've locked in Kittle. They've locked in Mostert. They locked in the pieces they needed to lock in. The mistake that the Jets have made, save Sam Darnold, they did not lock in the pieces that could get them somewhere. And unfortunately, those players are gone now.
Yep.
Those players are gone doing stuff elsewhere. So if you're the Jets, hell no, you're not going to trade out of that spot because you got a ton of draft picks at your disposal already, number one. Number two, the player that you should trade, and I may get a backslap for this, but the player you need to get the hell out of there, his last name is Bell.
Well, Bell's going to be gone. He's definitely going to be gone.
I don't think he's going to stick around. So, but I don't know. I mean, hey, look, I was actually thinking that because of LaMichael Piron, that might actually be the reason for Le'Veon Bell to stick around, because I would love to see a Jets backfield with Le'Veon Bell and LaMichael Piron. And I'm still, I'm interested very much to see exactly how Jabari Zuniga is going to perform on this Jets defense. So there's still a few things that I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
So, and the problem is that it doesn't matter whether you really don't care about wins or losses or not. You just want to see competitive football. But when you lose, it still bothers me nevertheless. But the thing that aggravated me the most, especially about this game, was we heard all the talk. We heard all the hype. We heard the Jets are pissed off. The Jets are going to come out with a chip on their shoulder.
And they came out and got whacked. They came out and got whacked in the first 10. They got whacked in the first 10 minutes.
Right. So
we heard all the talk. CJ, it's like you said, we heard all the talk. The Jets are going to come out pissed off. They're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder, and they came out the same way this year that they have come out the last 4 years, including the last time, 2015, they had a chance to make the playoffs. What happened in the first game every single year? They got the Ren and Stimpy slap, and it happened again today. And now you have to face a pissed-off NFC champion in your own house, knowing they had a chance to steal a game against Arizona. You know Kyle Shanahan's going to design every trick play in the book. He's going to design every trick play in the book for the next 2 games, just so he can throw off everybody in the NFC West, including Seattle, saying, see, we run a lot of trick plays. And what's going to happen later on in the season with San Francisco? They're going to run the ball down everybody's throat.
Yep.
These next 2 games for Kyle Shanahan, he can go into his laboratory and pick off every single trick play he can think of and run them all.
And that's what scares me, because the Jets, I said this, the season of the Jets is going to depend on the first 4 games of the season. If you look at their first 4 games of the season, their schedule, they're probably going to win none, because I don't think they're going to win until
they play the way that they played today.
I don't think they're going to win until week 6. Unfortunately, their schedule doesn't get easier, a little bit easier until week 6, week 7. And by then the season is over for them. And knowing the Jets, because we all know the New York Jets, they'll start winning after that and screw themselves out of the number 1 pick. They do it every single year. They do it every single year.
They've done it the last 6 years.
Yep.
They've done it the last 6 years. Sam Darnold just happened to fall in their lap. Okay? Sam Darnold just happened to fall in their lap. But like I said, going into next week, after what I saw today, Kyle Shanahan is going to look at that video. He's going to look at his video with his team, figure out the mistakes, and he's licking his chops. He better
not run the ball against the Jets defense, because if he does, the Jets will stuff him. And you saw what they did today. Even how bad they played, they're still one of the top running defenses in the league. They're going to have to air out the ball, even without wide receivers. And with that defense, especially what we saw with their star corner that they brought into free agency, that everybody thought was going to be a great player, he got benched before the first half was over. So. You're looking at the big picture right now. You paid a guy for 3 years worth about $28 million, and you don't know if he's going to be on the team next year. So
you don't know if he's going to be on the team next week, let alone next year.
I mean,
let's be real. You don't know if he's going to be on the team for the next 2 weeks, let alone next season.
It only scares you. Yep.
But I'm saying right now, Kyle Shanahan is licking his chops for next weekend. He's licking his chops for the next 2 weeks.
CJ, are you licking your chops?
Yeah, I'm licking my chops for the next drink that I'm going to get, because, pretty soon I'm going to start mainlining Jack Daniels. So,
CJ, beat you to it.
I don't think so. That's a good thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of Weapons Hot, a New York Jets fan broadcast. I would like to thank Mr. Errol Marks and Mr. Brian Snow for joining me this evening. Also want to shout out Mr. Sherrod Thompson from the 45th Medical Group at Patrick Air Force Base. Dude, thank you so much for tuning into tonight's broadcast. I wish we had better news to bring you. But before we end tonight's show, I want to go around the room. Snowman, we'll start with you. How can fans of Weapons Hot interact with the Snowman?
They can find me at official SIT Morn on all of my social media for my show. For me personally, my ID is BSnow Multimedia. I'll be on tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, breaking down the big games, including what happened in the Big Easy, including what happened at Levi's Stadium. You know I got to talk some Jets, but I'll be breaking down all the big games tomorrow during Hour 1. Got a couple of great guests to help me talk hockey and NBA during Hour 2. And I'll be on Facebook Live, YouTube, as well as the SDM Sports Network, 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
All right, Mr. Marks, you're up.
Well, guys, you can follow us by downloading our app. You go to Apple, which is WWSRN. Again, it's WWSRN. Or you go to Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, your Play Store. You can download the app. You can listen to all our shows, including Weapons Hot. Hopefully we get Snowman in the morning on our show.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I know. But I will say this. Our shows our network is great. We're adding some new shows to our network. Fantastic shows. We're adding a couple of fantasy shows. If you play fantasy football, fantasy baseball, basketball, we've got a great show lineup that's going to be added to our network. And you can go to our website, which is the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Tomorrow I'll be live at 6 p.m. New York Eastern Time. Me and Speedy will be arguing about the Jets, and throughout the football season, the start of week number 1, we're going to get into the New York Islanders getting knocked off by the Lightning today, which I was very upset about, by the way. We're going to get into that. We have a couple of special guests. We have 2 really well-known recruits for 2024, top recruits for the class of 2024 and 2021. And we've got a great show lined up for all you fans, and great network. We have a load of shows tomorrow. We have the Morning Boys, which is on tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Well, it's not the Morning Boys, the Ryan Hickey Show, which is on at 9 o'clock in the morning. We have our show, which is 6 to 8, which is down to the wire. And then we have the Wise Guys at 8 to 9 o'clock. So they're great too. And we have some new shows lined up, and we're going to fill in the slots of some of the great shows or some of the great sports media shows in the country. So we're very, very happy to give you guys all the talent out there. And if you guys didn't hear our show on Saturday, the Weekend Crunch with me and Eric Coleman, it was if you can't listen to it live here in Long Island, it's on 103.9 FM dial. You can listen to the replay by going to our our app and go to the podcast end of it, the replays of the show, and go to the Weekend Crunch. It was a great show. Eric is great. He was did the post game and the pregame show for the Jets today for ESPN. And he'll be on tonight for CBS New York, talking football and Jets football. Eric is a great guy, hard worker. 5 shows today. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I got Ryan Hickey coming on to close out my show tomorrow. I got him at 11:35 a.m.
Awesome.
That's going to be a fun interview. I have to get Arrow back on. I have to get CJ back on. The relationship with WWRSN will start soon. I had to get some things together. What knocked me backwards, I was sick for a month.
I know, I heard about it.
With a staph infection, and it has really knocked me backwards. So Worldwide Sports will get Snowman in the morning. That's a promise. I'll get these 2 gentlemen on. I got Ryan Hickey coming on tomorrow morning to close out.
Ryan's a star, by the way. Ryan's a star. Huh? Ryan's a star.
He is.
He's a great kid. He's a great kid. We're actually working on possibly doing a show twice a month. We're working on something very special for the fans. Me and Ryan have been wanting to work together for a very long time since he came to the network about a year and a half ago. So we're going to be doing a show possibly together twice a month. We don't know what we're calling it or what we're going to do with it. I think it'll be an interesting listen because we're so opposites when it comes to sports.
Yeah. I can't wait.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you could follow the Weapons Hot broadcast on Twitter at CNC Jets Factor. You can follow me at JetsFan0523, my partner in crime on the other side of the glass, who unfortunately is not with us because he had some technical problems this evening, Mr. Kevin Jackson at Spotty Blackman. You can shoot the show an email, weaponshotpodcast@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to go to Facebook. We do have a Facebook page. Check us out. Hit that like button and subscribe. Our content is up there. Message us. We'll message you right back. We love to go back and forth with fans about this team. Also, leave us some feedback about how we're doing over here at Weapons Hot. So, also, would like to thank all the viewers and all the listeners from the Snowman Digital Media Network, which we are now a part of, courtesy of Mr. Brian Snow, right down at the bottom box. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Errol Marks from the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, and Mr. Brian Snow from the Snowman Digital Media Network, this is CJ the Painkiller D. Simone signing off, and I'm going to leave you guys with, in my opinion, the best chant in the National Football League today. Peace, love, go Jets. Let's hope for a better result next week, although I'm not holding my breath.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.